The scene opens with a man named James escaping out the front door of a rural farmhouse, with screams of terror echoing behind him. A woman runs out of the house after him, but she quickly gets taken down by two other men who exit the house behind her. The men then proceed to burn the woman's body before getting in their car and following after James. As they drive away, we see a man wearing all white with a black triangle on his face watching them go. We are then introduced to Daniel, a state trooper, as he talks to dispatch from the radio in his car. After a moment, we see James come stumbling out of the woods, collapsing to the ground on the side of the road. Daniel goes to help him and sees that he's barely conscious, so he puts him in the back of his car and takes him to a nearby hospital. The two soon arrive at their destination, with Daniel dragging James inside and putting him onto a gurney. We find out that the hospital is extremely short-staffed due to a recent fire at the building, with only 2 nurses and 1 doctor on site. As the nurses wheel James away to see the doctor, we are introduced to the few other people currently at the hospital. We first see Kim, a nursing student, sitting with the only other patient in the hospital, a boy named Cliff. We then meet a pregnant girl named Maggie as she sits with her grandfather Ben in the waiting room. One of the nurses then brings Daniel some coffee, and we find out that she is his estranged wife, Allison. We learn that the two of them recently lost their child to a late miscarriage, leading to their separation. Dr. Powell soon joins them after checking on James and consoles Daniel by telling him that he lost his daughter too, many years ago. A short time later, Daniel is walking the halls of the hospital when he hears a noise coming from one of the nearby rooms. He goes to investigate and sees the other nurse, Beverly, stabbing some scissors into the right eye of the boy, Cliff, ending his life. As she turns around, we see that she has cut most of her own face off with the scissors, and Daniel is forced to take her down with his sidearm when she tries to attack him next. Shaken up by what just happened, he goes to a nearby bathroom to throw up and ends up passing out after seeing a vision of a black pyramid. He is soon woken up by Allison and Dr. Powell, and they tell him that another trooper has just arrived named Mitchell. Daniel gets up and goes to talk to the other officer, explaining the situation to him, then heads to a phone to call in the incident. After seeing that the phone isn't working, he decides to head out to his car to try the radio. Unfortunately, his radio isn't working either, and when he looks up, he sees a man dressed all in white standing in front of his car. As Daniel approaches the man, he suddenly hears a loud horn start blasting overhead as the lights to the hospital shut off behind him. While he is distracted, the man in white attacks him, managing to stab a knife halfway into his chest before Daniel is able to push him away. When Daniel gets up, he sees half a dozen other people in white now standing in front of him, all with the same black triangle painted over their faces. He manages to escape back to the building and get some help with the wound on his chest, while the people in white start to gather at the entrance. Before they can discuss what to do next, they suddenly hear James start screaming from down the hall, with Mitchell and Daniel going to investigate. When they enter the room, they see that James is being attacked by a large, horrifying creature, with its tentacles trying to reach around the hospital bed to grab him. Mitchell then starts shooting at the creature, which we see has the face of the nurse Beverly. With the bullets having little effect, they manage to free James from the bed and get him out of the room, closing the door behind them. We then see James pick up a scalpel off the floor, while Daniel grabs the axe in the fire cabinet. Before they can decide what to do next, the two men from the farmhouse suddenly burst into the hospital, with the older man pointing his rifle at James. James then grabs the pregnant girl Maggie, threatening her with his scalpel. Dr. Powell tries to approach him, telling him to calm down, but once he gets close, James stabs him in the neck. As the doctor starts to bleed out, Maggie's grandfather steps in and knocks James down, saving his granddaughter. While the group are distracted by the commotion, the Beverly creature suddenly bursts into the room, grabbing Mitchell by his neck and dragging him down the hall. Daniel chases after it to try to save his friend, but unfortunately he's too late, with the creature worming its tentacles into Mitchell's eyes. The creature then knocks Daniel to the ground, just as the man with the rifle and his companion round the corner. The man fires his rifle at the beast, and then he and his companion proceed to attack it with their axes. Once the creature stops moving, the trio then head back to the lobby. We learn that the man with the rifle's name is Vincent, and the younger man is his son Simon. Vincent tells Daniel that he came here after James, as he was at the farmhouse of the cult that had kidnapped his wife. Daniel decides to let Vincent talk to James, and James tells them that he had actually been a prisoner of the cult, and they had forced him to participate in their disturbing rituals. He then claims that Dr. Powell was the cult's leader, and by taking him out, he was actually doing everyone a favor. After knocking James out, they decide they should burn Mitchell's body to be safe, pushing it out on a stretcher into the parking lot. Maggie then suddenly starts to have abdominal pain, and Allison tells Daniel that she needs to get some things from the supply room to help her. Daniel says that he'll go with her, but he wants to get the shotgun out of his car first. He asks Vincent and Simon for help, and the trio head out into the parking lot. Once outside, we see that Daniel's car is much farther away than before, with reality now seeming to warp around the hospital. Back inside the building, we see Allison making her way down to the supply room, not wanting to wait for Daniel to get back. While she starts to gather up some supplies in a small bag, we suddenly see the silhouette of Dr. Powell standing in the doorway behind her. We then cut back to the parking lot, with the three men arriving at the patrol car. Daniel goes for his shotgun, while Simon grabs some supplies from the trunk and Vincent keeps watch. As Daniel fumbles with unlocking the weapon, we suddenly see a large number of the white-cloaked figures standing amongst the trees in front of them. While the group is distracted, another one of the people in white sneaks up behind them, slashing Simon in the hand before Daniel can take him down with the shotgun. The three of them then rush back inside the hospital and get some bandages for Simon's hand. Daniel then realizes that Allison is missing and goes to look for her with Vincent tagging along. As they head off after her, they notice that Dr. Powell's body is no longer under the sheet in the lobby where they left him. Once they make it to the supply room, they see a bag of supplies on the floor, but no sign of Allison anywhere. As they leave the room to continue searching, they hear a phone start to ring, with the sound coming from Dr. Powell's office. Daniel decides to answer it, seeing that the call is being made from the morgue. We hear Dr. Powell's voice on the other end of the line, and he asks Daniel about his vision of the pyramid. He goes on to explain that he is saving his daughter, and after all these years, he's finally conquered death. While the two of them talk, Vincent looks through the doctor's things and finds a number of disturbing pictures, appearing to tie him directly to the cult. The two then make their way back to the others, with Daniel preparing to go after Allison. He gives a radio to Kim so she can guide him to the morgue, and then hands Maggie's grandfather his sidearm just in case. Vincent and Simon volunteer to go with him, and the trio pick up James along the way. They find themselves having to venture into the burned part of the hospital to reach the morgue, but Kim tells them it should be right around the corner. As they turn down the next hallway, they find themselves looking at a dark staircase heading down, and they ask Kim if that's the right way. She tells them that there shouldn't be a staircase going down anywhere, because the hospital doesn't have a lower floor. Despite this alarming news, they decide to go down the stairs anyway, with Daniel determined to save his wife and the other two wanting revenge. At the bottom of the stairs, they see a door with a black triangle painted on it and decide there's no turning back. As they venture inside, they see that the room is filled with mutilated bodies, causing them all to gag. They soon notice that some of the bodies are moving, and they are quickly under attack by a number of horrifying creatures. In all the commotion, the group gets separated, with James getting taken out by one of the monsters. Back upstairs, we see that Maggie is now in really bad shape, with her grandfather begging Kim to save her. While the two of them argue, Maggie's grandfather suddenly grabs his throat, as blood starts to pour out of it. As he collapses to the ground, we see Maggie standing behind him, holding a scalpel and smiling. She explains to Kim that she is having Dr. Powell's baby, which will reunite him with his daughter. She then leaves with two more of the cloaked figures, allowing Kim to escape for the moment. Back down in the basement, we see Vincent suddenly start attacking Simon as reality warps around them, with Vincent's mind being controlled by Dr. Powell. Simon manages to get his hands on a flare and uses it to burn Vincent, which fortunately brings him back to his senses. We then cut back to Daniel as he finds Allison lying on an operating table, appearing to be pregnant. After a moment, he realizes it's only a vision, and that Dr. Powell has actually turned her into another one of the creatures. He then starts to hear Dr. Powell's voice inside his head, telling him that not everyone handles the transformation well. Daniel then decides to put what's left of Allison out of her misery, picking up his axe and chopping the creature to pieces. He then makes his way into another room with a large black triangle on the wall, and he starts to hear Dr. Powell's voice again. The doctor tells Daniel that on his quest to bring back his daughter, he discovered an ancient power that is older than time. Daniel then suddenly gets stabbed from behind by Maggie, and as he falls to the floor, we see a fully transformed Dr. Powell step out from the shadows. He puts his hand on Maggie's head and calls his daughter forth, with Maggie suddenly getting scared as she realizes that something is wrong. A massive creature then suddenly bursts out of her body in an explosion of blood and guts, and immediately starts to stomp its way over to Daniel. The creature then gets shot by a rifle, as Vincent and Simon arrive just in time. Unfortunately, this causes the creature to start chasing them instead, forcing a retreat. As they flee down the hall, the creature quickly gains on them, wrapping its tentacles around Vincent's legs and pulling him close. He manages to shoot the creature with his rifle, but it only causes even more tentacles to pour out from inside of it and start stabbing into Vincent's body. Realizing that he's not going to make it, Vincent starts covering himself with rubbing alcohol and tells Simon to hit him with a flare. After a moment of hesitation, Simon throws the flare, causing the creature and his father to both go up in flames. Back in the other room, we see Daniel try to attack Dr. Powell with an axe, but it seems to have no effect on him. The doctor then grabs Daniel by the throat, telling him that this isn't the end. Daniel then tells him that it is, as he pushes the two of them through the triangular portal on the wall. We then cut back to Simon as he tries to make his way out of the hospital, with the creature somehow still chasing him. As he runs down a hallway with the creature on his heels, the walls suddenly start to close in around him, with Simon narrowly escaping as the creature is crushed behind him. Simon then looks to see if there are any other survivors and finds Kim, and the two embrace as the horrors now appear to be over. In the final scene, we see Daniel standing next to Allison in an alien environment, with a large black pyramid floating above them. Like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. See you next time.